We'll be presenting our findings on the impact of sustainable logistics practices on organizational performance of large-scale companies in Sri Lanka. The authors are B.N. PARANAVITHANA, L.A.D.P.K. LIYANAARACCHI, T.A.S. NANDANA, T.H. Senadheera, HERATH, S.I. WIJENAYAKE. Let's go to the introduction part of our research. Present-day business environment evolves globally and competitively than the past eras, with shorter or small life cycles and less time to market. Further, modern customers are well experienced and well informed of the market that they are dealing with. The consumer orientation towards the environmental impact and sustainability has also been increased with time. So therefore, the organizations are giving more attention and value to the environmentally friendly products and activities that are initiated by their companies in order to minimize their environmental footprint left. And sustainable logistics practices is another way an organization used in order to achieve their sustainability and stability goals. Let's go to the next slide. Problem statement. The Sri Lankan context certainly lacks investigation in this particular area. So the number of researchers which have been done in this area is really less. Therefore, the purpose of this study is to examine the existing sustainable logistics practices that affect the organizational performance in large-scale companies in Sri Lanka. We have identified 3 objectives. The objective 1 is to investigate the impact of sustainable logistics practices on organizational performance on large-scale companies in Sri Lanka. And the second objective is to identify the dimensions of sustainable logistics. And the third objective is to identify each dimension's impact on the dependent variable, which is organizational performance. And scope of study is basically the boundary of the study, and our research will be bounded by the ISO 14000 certified large-scale companies in Sri Lanka. And the scholars, the researchers in the logistics field in both local and foreign contexts, the stakeholders at all levels of an organization, the owners and the top-level managers in companies, and people who are promoting green concepts in practice and also in theory will be utilizing the results of this study. Let's go to the next slide, which shows the 2 theories which are based in our research. And the first will be the natural resource-based weave theory. This articulates the relationship with the firm's resources, capabilities, and the competitive advantage, and suggests that companies should always search sources of competitive advantage within the organization so that they can get a competitive edge over the other organizations. And social network theory will be the other theory. In this, it looks into relationships as nodes and ties, and nodes will refer to the persons or the actors in concern, while the ties are the different relationships between these different actors. And there's a network mapping model in this theory, which will be able to maintain effective relationships within the organization. Let's go to the next slide. In the conceptual framework, we have been able to identify 6 sustainable logistics practices under the independent variables, and those are green transportation, green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics, while the dependent variable is organizational performance. Let's go to the next slide. In this, we have been able to identify 6 hypotheses, and these 6 states that the green transportation, green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics are having a significant impact on the organizational performance of an organization. Let's go to the next slide. In the methodology part, the research strategy which we have used is a quantitative strategy, while the research approach is a deductive approach, and the research design is a cross-sectional design. The data collection was primarily done through a questionnaire, and the sampling frame is the Sri Lanka Export Development Board. The total population is 193 ISO 14000 certified listed companies in the Colombo Stock Exchange, while the sample size was taken out of that. The number was 127 ISO 14000 certified companies. The sample size calculation was done by Krejci and Morgan formula, while sampling technique is the simple random sampling model, while SPSS version 25.0 and Smart PLS 3.2 was used as data analysis technique with the help of PLS SEM. Let's go to the next slide. Data entered actually we had to code the data using Excel at first, using a spreadsheet, and then we entered that into an SPSS datasheet, and then converted it to a CSV file for analysis in Smart PLS. And data analysis actually was done in 2 stages. First, measurement model was evaluated, the PLS algorithm was run, and on the stage 2, structural model was evaluated to test the hypothesis, a bias correct bootstrapping with 5000 bootstrap samples. The outer loadings were explored, and the items with loadings below 0.6 were removed according to the past literature. And next slide. In order to assess the reliability of data, the Cronbach's alpha and the composite reliability was used, and it should be above 0.7 on the constructs, and therefore the reliability is assured in our data set, and it was all above 0.7. And the assessing of validity of data, the average variance was extracted, and it was greater than 0.7 for all constructs. And in order to establish the discriminant validity of the measurement model, 2 criteria was used, and the square root of AVE with the correlations between all the constructs, and it showed that the square root of AVE is greater than the intercorrelations, which assures the discriminant validity. Therefore, the discriminant validity of the measurement model was established. And let's go to the next slide, which discusses the objective 2 of our research, which is identifying the dimensions of sustainable logistics practices. And with the reading of past researchers, authors were able to find 6 dimensions which suit the current context, the local context. And those are green transportation, green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics. Let's go to the next slide. So in the hypothesis testing summary, only green transportation hypothesis wasn't accepted. It gave a null hypothesis. Well, while the other hypotheses, green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics all gave an accepted hypothesis. Let's go to the next slide. Concluding our research presentation, we were able to answer for our objective 1, and sustainable logistics practices have impacted on organizational performance of large-scale companies in Sri Lanka. While on the objective 2, we have been able to identify 6 different variables, which are green transportation, green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics. And as the objective 3 on the next slide, we have been able to identify that green transportation is not having a significant impact on organizational performance. while green warehouse management, green procurement, green office management, green packaging management, and reverse logistics are significantly having an impact on the organizational performance. Let's go to the next slide, which shows you some recommendations. In addition, it is important to use as many variables in order to get a complete understanding or a diverse view on these companies. As an example, we can take variables focusing on social corporate responsibility. And if the authors could come up with a method to measure the financial impact, it would fill another research gap, which would directly benefit the organizations in planning their resources in logistics. And also, this research has utilized a considerable amount of secondary information. And if they could gather some more primary information, it would suit each and every company in a greater and gives a greater concern towards their individual aspects and gaining a competitive advantage on their practices. And let's go to the next slide, which discusses industry specific recommendations. And in this we have given we have recognized 3 industries, and according to the apparel industry, using eco-friendly and biodegradable packaging materials, photovoltaic panels to reduce the energy consumption, using electrical forklifts, installation of green roofs, and in tourism industry, using of electrical vehicles, using of food and other degradable waste to generate energy, prioritizing the local purchases, and also in shipping, upgrading the fleet in order to ensure maximum efficiency, and also using of green ships and fuel efficient cargo. And on the next slide, we'd like to conclude the research, and thank you.